Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. On this episode, I'm speaking with Alex Chow, founder of Microsoft partner AP Commerce. Alex is a true veteran of the Nav and Business Central community. We talk about some of his formative experiences in the ERP space that led him to form his own business 17 years ago, and how his approach to serving Nav and Business Central clients has evolved alongside Microsoft's priorities. Alex is an ERP pro, but he's also a business owner and a community member. So while he's invested in the Microsoft channel, he explains he's also thinking about his customers' needs. At times, there can be friction between these interests, and he wrote about some concerns recently related to what he saw as subpar outcomes for some Business Central customers who he had met after they had gone live through fixed-price deployments. We also discuss Alex's approach to building a career in the Dynamics ecosystem, the strengths of Business Central today, and how the product line could evolve into an even more self-service platform in the future. Well, hi, Alex. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And, you're someone who, maybe we'll start off with some introductions. You're someone who I've certainly been reading your writings for quite a while, and I know you've been in the Business Central and Nav space. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about your career and your time in the Microsoft community and the Nav and Business Central space?
Yeah. So I've been doing Navision Nav since 1999. So it's been a while. So I got into this industry actually right out of college. When I first started, the first company I worked at was billable hours. And a lot of solution centers are operating under the model where people are being evaluated based on the number of hours they bill. And, that kind of lifestyle, I don't know if, I'm sure most listeners will relate. When you're working under that kind of environment where you're constantly required to bill, that kind of environment burns you out really quickly. And of course, I got burnt out and got a disagreement with the owner, and subsequently, pretty much got fired. And the second company I kind of worked for was complete opposite. They didn't really focus. I mean, they still had a minimum billable hours requirement, but it was not that constant pressure. But that has its own issues, and that we're really working more for the benefit of the owner. We're not really we don't get any benefits from billing the hours. So it was and there's a lot of structures, a lot of barriers to trying to help the customers. Like, you weren't really allowed to help the customers unless they have jump through all these hoops with prepaids and have to conform to whatever requirements to get them set up as a customer. So it was kind of had to leave that space, leave that company quickly, because it was just eating away at my soul. Jumped out. Kind of was looking for a company to work with, and really couldn't find a company. And then I basically said, you know what, let's try it out. Let's start a company where, we're interested. What my sole focus was trying to help people. So I started a company with the sole focus is trying to help companies out. And if they pay us, great. If not, that's fine too. And see if we could make that work. And kind of started AP Commerce based on that basis. And luckily, to this day, we're still operating.
And how long ago was that?
Started the company in 2005.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
yeah,
and your time with Navision and Nav goes back farther than that. Okay.
Yeah. So this was prior to the Microsoft acquisition. And
right. That was 07. Sure. Is that right? 06?
I think it was started. I think they bought out starting version 4.0. That's when Microsoft bought them. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this about because I've had in the fading past, I guess at this point, I've had billable hour type of IT or software consulting roles myself, and the one upside, well, two upsides that I can think of. One is the pressure of it makes you learn the products very well, because you have these clients that are counting on you, and you're trying your best to do a good job and all that, and the other is just the well, maybe three now that as I start talking. One is the ability to relate to the needs of these different organizations, and communicate with them, and ultimately sort of give them something that's valuable, that you can walk away feeling like you've given them something that met their needs. And then the third, I would say, is probably the part that maybe led to AP Commerce, which is how you would do it the right way, if you're seeing how the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, and you brought up an important point, is that there's got to be more to life than billable hours, and there's got to be more to life than just working for the money. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do what we do. I mean, for example, today I wake up, I love my wife, I love my kids. Damn that, there's no money in that, but I still do. I want to wake up and I want to enjoy the stuff that I do, and I'm a firm believer, if you do good, money will follow. I just shifted. That was when I realized that, it was really liberating for me, that I could focus on what I think is right, and be rewarded subsequently. And that just took my focus away. It's like, wow, okay, this job is fun. It's not getting burned out after doing for how many years.
Yeah. I feel like I've talked to a few different people recently that are trying to do their own approach to something like that. It's oftentimes people who have been in this space for a long time and are, I don't know, it sounds like you came to this quite a while ago, so you've been enjoying many years of that perspective. But I don't know. Do you hear from other people in the NAV and BC space who are looking for something other than that prototypical hourly billing utilization model?
Everybody wants to do that. Everybody
get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to talk and think about it. It's another thing to actually do it. And it's a big lifestyle change. I'll tell you what. When I first did it, I didn't make a lot of money converting my beliefs, but I was happy. And when people are making all these money under the billable hours model, and all of a sudden, you could be happier, but you're going to make this much. It's a big lifestyle change. And typically with human nature, once you have it, all of a sudden you take it away. That's a hard transition for a lot of people. And I want to encourage people that are thinking this kind of transition, is that you'll build it back up. It just takes time. It's just like any company switching from one ERP to another. And in the beginning, there's always going to be a product. There's always going to be a slowdown in productivity. But it's going to build back up. You're going to be a lot better than before. And you're going to be a lot happier than before. You're going to earn a lot more than. I know. I don't want to make this sound like a self-help blog podcast, but I mean, for me, it really is like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I think when you've experienced, when you've been through the full cycle of maybe doubts and then seeing it work and enjoying and really being able to enjoy it, it's certainly understandable.
Yeah, and also want to mention that you don't feel like you have to come out and start your own thing to achieve that kind of transition. You could certainly work in your current job, and talk with your boss, see if there's some changes that you can make, some fundamental change in how you work and how you build. See how open they are to making this change, because starting your own thing, entrepreneurship in general, there's a lot of problems and challenges that are associated. For people like me that don't know any better, of course, I went in headstrong. And I have to overcome a bunch of challenges. It's really fun. It's really great. But I do realize that these kind of challenges, not everybody's open to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not for everybody for sure, it might be. As you said, talking to your boss, if you're looking to do it sort of internally at your job or, as an employee, yeah, I can imagine talking. There's no guarantee you're going to get a good response there either, because I've been at firms where it's the utilization. I mean, this was a while ago, but it's the utilization, and if you're not willing to do that, it's not the job for you. And that could be a reality too. And that could be as big of a gamble for some people, or as uncomfortable for some people as, for you starting a business, I would say.
Yeah, no,
just making a job change.
Yeah, making enough to kind of support yourself, and if you're later in your life, supporting your family and people around you.
Yeah,
that is definitely a challenge. But like I said, it is a hard transition. I've been speaking with people working in a solution center where there's a pressure to bill.
Mm-hmm.
People are really, I mean, for me, of course they don't publicly talk about it, but in private, it really is, for the lack of a better word, soul sucking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've been in this situation. I've been in this situation, and we have people that I work with, are my coworkers. They're raised under that same environment. It's not fun. It makes a fun job. Again, lack of a better word, really, it mm-hmm. sucks away at your excitement for the job.
Yeah, it sucks the life out of it. It makes you feel like you're burning out. It seems unsustainable, and it is unsustainable for a lot of people.
Yeah, but for the company, they don't care. I mean, they manage my numbers. Hey, if you're burnt out, they let you go, and they hire a new batch of fresh employees. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember being surprised that it reminds me of meeting older consultants and realizing they were all divorced. That was something.
Yeah.
That made me put it into perspective a little bit, because I was
thankfully I'm still on my first wife.
Yeah, there you go. Me too.
Good. Yeah. You realize, good for you, man.
This topic, and I don't know how it leads into what else. The other thing I really wanted to get into the discussion with you about, because you take the sort of traditional consulting model. Like, I don't even know how that lines up with what Microsoft would want its Business Central partners to be doing today. And this also leads into kind of one of the other main topics. But I mean, does that model even make sense in the current sort of as Business Central has evolved with billable hours?
Yeah, that's always a challenge. To the way that Microsoft manages partners is the way partners manages their billable employees. It's like, okay, show me the number. Where's the number at? Okay. If you don't get the numbers, you're done. I'm going to bring somebody in. Right. Mm-hmm. And, the Microsoft model is all about the number. They're a big conglomerate. And before we get into the way Microsoft manages the partner, Business Central, the product itself, is a fantastic product. I think people who are now implementing Business Central online, they really don't know how good they have it. Right now, before, I remember when we, even not too long ago, when we're setting up a new Dynamics Nav, it was called back then, or Business Central now. If you want to install a instance, you have to send a technician on site to set up on their server for them. You configure their network, make sure people can log in, install the client software on everybody, and show their IT like how to administer it. It was a lot of work. Now you just click a few buttons and there you go. Same thing with add-ons.
Is magic.
Yeah, it's magic. To me, I was like, whoa, this is cool. And same thing with add-ons. Like before, to get an add-on into your database, man, that took a lot of hours. Took a lot of work to get those add-on in, to get it set up. But now you could just go on Appsource and click a few buttons and boom, there's your add-on. And there's full documentation. Everything's automated. So in that regard, users now that are using BC Online, they're really spoiled on how easy it is to get everything set up. Now, having said that, back to your original question about how Microsoft manages the partners, is that Yes, Business Central is easier to set up. Yes, you could do all these add-ons, install these add-ons easily. But one thing about Business Central that's different than, for example, Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, installing Microsoft Excel or Access, all those different products, is that if you want to set up Business Central as easy as they've made it, I mean, you still need to know what you're doing. It's really easy to mess up and set it up in a way where it's really hard to use. It's really complicated, and may set it up in a way where if a user looks at it, they're going to reject it automatically because they're going to say, "Oh, it's too hard, it's too slow, hard to use, cumbersome, blah 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 blah."
None of this makes any sense.
Yeah. And really, it's just really how you set it up and how you configure it. And unfortunately, we're not there yet. I'm sure in the future Microsoft will get to that point, but Business Central still require a knowledgeable person to make it easy and usable for you guys, for your business. And like I said, going back to what you're saying, it's like how they manage the partner is they're managing it like we are Microsoft Office dealers. We're just numbers. All the software is set up for you. You just need to give me my numbers. If you're not making my numbers, you're out. And unfortunately, Business Central is not that kind of software.
Yeah. On the other side of it, what I'm thinking of also is sort of what does Microsoft expect that implementations look like now compared to in the past? And I'm thinking, there's obviously a lot of energy, or enthusiasm for fixed price, fixed scope, right? And making things repetitive. That seems to be coming directly from Microsoft, and also from, I think, from larger partners too. The idea that it can be, and with the goal of, it doesn't have to be a big, expensive, painful process to get it up and running, and I guess successfully up and running, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always that simple, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's every dynamics of a company is different. I equate like a inner workings of a company to like a family, right? In the family, you have inside jokes, you have certain. Everybody has different personalities. Everybody does things a little differently, even though we're all family. But there are intricacies and details that makes that family function. Same thing with the company. What I find is that whenever I go into a company and look at the company, yes, everybody has accounts payable, everybody has accounts receivable, everybody has something that they're selling. If you look at it as a surface, yes, everybody is the same. And that's where these templated fixed price implementation come from. You know what? I see that everybody on the surface looks the same. We're going to throw you a mold. Just make it work. Right? But a lot of times what we see is that, yes, on the surface, it does address those basic needs. Then this is why people are complaining about Business Central being a hard software to use, it's being confusing. Like all the documentation's online. One thing nice that Microsoft did is they provide all the documentation and step-by-step instructions on how to use Business Central online. It's great if you're looking at it from a specific feature standpoint. For example, if you want somebody to enter a sales order, yes, they can enter a sales order. They can follow instructions on enter a sales order. But what happens to the sales order after that? I mean, like, who do I hand it to? Like, what do I print? Who do I give this to within the organization? How does your warehouse do picking? Like, how does the whole overall flow? How is it supposed to work? And I think a lot of the fixed price implementations, while they do scratch the surface on a lot of these things, but to get into more detail, well, that's really out of the scope of the fixed price implementations.
And you recently wrote about this, and I think it was from the perspective of you coming into accounts or companies, organizations where Business Central is already in place and maybe has already gone through this kind of deployment experience. And the title of the article, we'll link to it, but the title is accepting Dynamics 365 Business Central as a mediocre solution. And you're not calling the product, I mean, as you've just said, you're not calling the product, but it sounds like the outcome can be mediocre within the context of the product in if certain things aren't followed, right? If certain elements of a deployment don't go the right way.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what prompted me to write that article is we spoke to a couple of end users started working with Business Central, and we're just talking to them, see how their implementation experiences are and what they've gone live with. And when you talk to these these customers of Business Central, all the functionalities are turned on. They're doing budgeting, they're doing order processing, they're doing warehousing, they're doing manufacturing. On the surface, it's like, wow, you guys are using a lot of features in Nav. I'm very impressed. But then you ask them a little deeper. It's like, oh yeah, how did you guys must love the system, right? And they're like, yeah, no, not really. It's really cumbersome. It's a lot of the numbers that we're getting it's kind of weird, and we have to run a separate set of Excel sheet to make sure everything is in check. And that got me thinking. I was like, I mean, the whole purpose of these companies, of you wanting to migrate to a modern ERP like Business Central, is so you could get off of these Excel sheets. You could put everything into one system. Of course, you get deeper. It's like, oh man, when they first went live, none of the numbers matched from their old system. And when they did the cutover, and there's a list of steps that we would assume that should have been taken that weren't. So a lot of these people, what I realized is that, okay, they just went through a template implementation, and things don't go well. They feel like it's their fault, right? The companies feel like it's their fault because, hey, you know what? These fixed price implementations supposedly has worked for all these other companies, but we weren't successful, so it must be our fault, right? So as you talk to them, you're trying to guide them through, and they're like, oh yeah, we're just everything's stable now. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. The software is okay. Things are stable. I'm just gonna leave it. And that just when I heard that, I just like, wow, you're just accepting it as is. I mean, by going to Business Central, your business didn't improve at all. When you're spending this kind of money to implement a new system, you want to see some changes in your company, some improvements, but we're just accepting it. It's like, okay, it's stable. I don't want to cause any more problems.
Man, I have so many questions about how that can happen, between just thinking of, well, on the one hand, you have hopefully an accounting or finance department that's presumably looking at the before and after state and raising warnings if it's not right. And also, like, where are these other Business Central partners that walked away from and left them holding this solution that's not doing everything it's supposed to,
Yeah, I mean, it's out of the scope. I would assume. I didn't. They would have it would. So basically, they had a budget. They say, okay, this fixed price implementation is going to cost you $10,000. Of course, fixed price implementation is basically a race to the bottom, right? I mean, how are you going to offer a implementation for your whole company RAP inventory for $10,000, $7,000, $5,000 even? How are you going to do that? You have to cut, right? You have to cut services. But when people look at Business Central, and then they get it, they see, okay, it's only going to take this much. I'm only going to budget so much for this implementation. Okay, or they're just going to say, okay, I'll budget a little more because fixed price. I'll budget maybe 10%, 20% more. But as soon as they go live with it, they realize, oh man, now they're in trouble, right? They've already spent the money. They realize, they need more, but they can't get more, and they don't have to budget for it. So I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble.
There's a long history of ERP, either failed or subpar ERP projects in the world. It's kind of there's all sorts of stories out there from the 90s until now, I guess. But how is this different in your view? I mean, you mentioned the fixed price and some of the market pressures that then leads to certain outcomes. Is there anything else that's that some of these different organizations have in common that you've been talking to that experience some of this? Are they, new to Microsoft ERP? Are they new to ERP in general?
Yeah, I mean, these companies that we've spoken to, they don't consider the software as a failure because they're processing orders, they're buying stuff, they're receiving orders. So they don't consider it as a failure, but they also don't view it as an improvement. So that is the issue. So, business, like I said, Business Central with these fixed price implementation, they could ensure that you go live. Well, I wouldn't even call that real life, but they could ensure you that you could migrate off your old system into Business Central. But any kind of improvements that you want to do to make your business more efficient, they feel stuck. They feel like, this is the end of the line for them. And that is the area where I see a lot of company are kind of falling on, is that they're just accepting Business Central. It's like, it's an okay solution. It's okay. You know what I mean? I'm off the old system, so that's a win. Do I want to make any improvements? I do, but Business Central is not the software to do it. And that is the remark that I personally have an issue with, is that, and I'm only speaking this because I know it can be done. Business Central is the product of choice for mid-market, and it could make your business, it could take your business to a whole new level, but a lot of people are just accepting it for what it is at face value, which I think is a lost opportunity.
Yeah. Is there anything that you and your team have done for any of these companies to sort of right the ship, or to at least just make the product work better for them?
Yeah. Well, we try. And unfortunately, our industry has made a bad name for ourselves. So a lot of times we just kind of propose different ideas, and they think we're trying to sell them something. And of course, this is on me. I probably have to do a better job of convincing or talking to people. But I think people are wary of sales talks and promises and talking about possibilities. A lot of people are just focused on, for example, they see a lot of the online demos that Microsoft gave out. Business Central can do a lot of things that enhance, how you operate, but nobody focuses on the process, right? So for example, if I'm buying a holiday destination to for example, Tahiti, I'm only focused on a destination. I don't care if it's going to take me 5 flights, 6 layovers, sleeping on a cockroach bunk bed. I'm focused on that destination because, oh man, Tahiti, that's good. But and I think we're so focused on, okay, if we just get there, we'll be better. If we just get there, everything will be good. We'll be fine. But with like a business software, it's a little different. Yes, we need to focus on the destination, the ultimate goal of realizing the full benefit of Business Central. But the process counts. For example, if initially your numbers don't match when you go live with Business Central, that is going to have a cascading problems the rest of the rest of the time span for your Business Central implementation. If you can't get your numbers to match from your old system to a new system, or your inventory cost is off, or your ordering is not right, your AR and AP is not right, I mean, right off the bat, you're not going to have a good time going down to Business Central.
Yeah.
And we could say, oh yeah, but Business Central, all this good, and when you get it up and running, it's like, yeah, but there's this nagging elephant in the room that just nagging at me. It's just there. That problem is there.
It seems that I'm just thinking as you say that, it seems like that in particular kind of an issue in the course of a project. I'd have to say that one, if I'm going to play judge here. That falls to largely to the client company to understand that they ultimately have to decide if they're going to accept that or not before they go live, and either fire their partner or work with them to figure it out. I mean, I just can't see, blaming the partner for that. I can see a partner, and obviously you've said, you can recognize when that might be an issue, and it has to be rectified. But I mean, for an organization to accept that, and still go live, someone on the customer, tell me I'm wrong, but someone on the customer team is ultimately making that decision.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And a lot of times these decisions are based on the money spent. So, we're approaching this end of our fixed price implementation. What do we do? Like something is wrong, but we already spent the money.
Yeah, and the pressure then is probably on some partners to get out the door and get to the next fixed price, right? That there's very little to gain by adding, I don't know, 30 hours, or you tell me how many 100 hours, to let that project drag on when they could be moving on to the next repeatable.
Yeah, and a lot of times, a lot of these times, when we talk to these customers, like this fixed price. I mean, I understand I'm not blaming like either the partner or the customer. Just the industry in general is like, how do you get these fixed price implementation? How do you set the price, right? If the price is a certain way because the market dictates it, that means I gotta find a way to lower my costs as a VAR, as a partner. So who am I gonna order? Okay, so I'm not gonna hire somebody that's expensive. I'm just gonna hire somebody that kind of knows what's going on and pay them half the price as if I paid a seasoned consultant, and just have them read the manual and use based on what you read the manual, use the manual to teach the customer, right? And like I said, a lot of it is if they want to get something deeper, match up the numbers. Well, that for the new person coming in, that's a lot of challenge.
Sure, that's especially that's a level of skill.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just the industry. So it's a race to the bottom. If we're focusing on, if we're going to evaluate service based on price, then what the customer is going to get is, the not so high level people working on your project.
Right. And there's definitely, I think there's never been more of a case where there's various tiers of professionals in this area than there ever have been. Like you said, there's brand new people who are doing repeatable work out of solution centers or whatever. And then there's people like you and we know plenty of those other people who have really deep expertise and really treat customers well. And they're all out there. I think there's some due diligence and maybe the ability to sort of sniff out who you're actually working with as a customer and be very critical of that, or be very picky about that, to the extent that that's possible, I would say.
Yeah, and I have to say it's getting tougher and tougher, even for me. Like for example, we're just shopping for just looking around, and a lot of again, everybody paints the destination as like a tropical paradise. Like Business Central, like the sales has really stepped up in convincing the customer. Like Business Central, and to Microsoft's credit, Business Central is, when you look at the demos online, it's really good. It's really good, and in actuality, when you use it, is really awesome as well. But how we get there, everybody just seems to skip that part.
Well, just to look at current events, it seems like things are going well for the product overall. They're they've reached over 15,000 customers, and they're growing the number of seats at a faster rate than they're growing the number of customers. So I think that means customer implementations are getting bigger, and existing customers are adding users as well. So, those are I think from Microsoft's perspective, positive signs. I know that they do also. Well, maybe you can tell me this. I mean, they say that they do keep an eye on sort of customer satisfaction stats as well on an ongoing basis. Do you? I don't know. Do you get the sense that that your clients are being asked, either just within the product or I don't know, other ways how they're doing? And what they think about the product, or is it more just a measure of do they keep their monthly subscriptions going?
None of our Business Central Online customers told us about any surveys that Microsoft sent us. I don't know where
and to be fair, that might be more on the F&O side now that I say it, because I know I've heard people from Microsoft say it, but I'm not sure it was regarding Business Central.
I don't know. Here, I'm a Business Central guy. Of course, I'm biased, but I don't know why Microsoft is not focusing more on Business Central rather than F&O. Like what you said, it's the fastest growing mid-market ERP in the world, and it's a great product. And I don't know. Those marketing guys at Microsoft, man, I'm telling you.
Well, there's
just the fact that they wake up in the morning, take a sip of coffee, and just say, I'm going to change the name of Nav or Business Central or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just for the hell of it, I'm just going to change the name.
It's been through the industry. It's been through a lot over the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, that transition has been a real journey. I would say it's in a stable place today compared to where it was at the around NAV 2017 timeframe to now. It's been there's been a lot of twists and turns. It seems stable to me at this point that they found a home for it in the lineup, basically exactly where they started, except as a more modernized application.
Yeah, until they get a new marketing team, right? At Microsoft, and they say, what, Dynamics 365 is a terrible name. Let's change it to like something else.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's other things happening that I think are going to have a big impact going forward. For example, what are the experiences of, veteran GP customers going to be like moving to Business Central? It started, but I think there's tens of thousands, right, of left to potentially move to Business Central over time. And I think the interest is growing from what I've heard, that interest in, renewing GP is falling and moving off of GP is growing. So, and those are companies that know their ERP in large part. I mean, they're not probably all, super wise or whatever, but they have, like you said, they have a starting point with like a sophisticated ERP, and moving to Business Central, Microsoft needs to make sure the partners get that right. I have another podcast coming out on some of the assessment tools of moving to Business Central from GP, and some of the tools that are built just for that migration, right? Or that transition, I guess you call it. But that's going to be one more pressure, I think, that maybe reflects some of those same risks that you're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, GP is a great product, but Business Central is a different product. You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course, GP partners will get there. Those who are willing to put in the time and effort in understanding Business Central, they're the ones that are going to succeed. The people who are just looking at Business Central, studying the manuals and creating fixed price implementations, I mean, if they're gonna do okay, but I think the ones that really understand the full aspects of BC and relying on their internal resource rather than using outsourced contractors, they're the ones that are going to succeed. The people who are relying on contractors, contractors, I'm not bad mouthing any contractors, but from my experience, this is directly from personal experience. All the outside contractors, they're going to work on your stuff, and there's a better opportunity, they're going to jump to that. You're going to be left in the dust. And if you don't have that capability in-house, it's really hard to control the quality of work being delivered.
Yeah, I think the best thing, it seems like, that any organization can do that's going to be investing is get as educated as they possibly can on who some of the players are, and really what to expect, what you can learn from others, I would say, in some of these areas.
Yeah. And there's a big part about GP that's still going to be service-based. People are not going to once people start utilizing BC, like for example, these customers that we talked about, that I've in contact with. Originally they're using BC and they reached out to us because they reach the same conclusions. Man, there's got to be more to the software than how we're just using it. That's why they're reaching out. That's why we get the opportunity to chat with them. And like I said, any new partners coming in, if they're just going to do the minimal work and that, I'm just going to read the online manuals, memorize those manuals and regurgitate that to the customers, they're the ones that are going to be left in the dust. Whereas the ones that are diving in, understand the ALCO and how all the different modules talk to each other, relate to each other, how it translates to business, I think those are the ones that are going to be doing pretty well. And they could, because they could help facilitate, go deeper into the customer's business. Based on that, they could create the relationship. And also, if all of these tools that are frequently used, they could create those into an app on the Appsource. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities surrounding Business Central. But like I said, if you're focusing on the numbers, obviously it's really hard to invest the time into getting to understand a product really deep.
Have you? I thought that the piece you wrote was very well done, and I thought it sort of put the it put the issue out there in a way that also wasn't also left plenty of room to sort of understand that there's a ton of opportunity, as you were just saying. Have you had much reaction from other people, either privately or I think I saw a couple of comments that seemed supportive?
Yeah. Skepticism, pretty much. Okay. Obviously, I wrote about this topic where the practice of the industry is something that, it really reflected how I felt at the time. It's like, man, we're focusing so much on a number, but we're really missing the getting all like guru. Yeah. But anyways, we're fixing the missing the big picture. So how do we make humanity, I guess, better? I don't want to sound like all corny and stuff, but it's like, okay, you're gonna make your money. Nobody's gonna. If you know nav, I'm just gonna put this out there. If you know BC, you're not gonna starve to death. You're not gonna starve to death, right? Of course, you're not gonna be driving a Lambo either, right? But you're not gonna starve to death, right? But we're still focused on, we need the money, we need the money, and we're so focused on money, we're missing ways to help companies to kind of leverage leverage utilization of Business Central to help their business.
Well, let me ask you in terms of how is Business Central with its pricing model and its deployment model, how has it changed how you run your business, or has it?
It really hasn't. We've always focused on service as our primary source of revenue. We were never really good. We don't have a good sales team, and by we don't have a good sales team is I'm the salesperson in the company. so I suck at selling. But our main practice source of revenue is focusing on our service. So in that regard, switching over to Business Central really hasn't impacted our business to any degree. Yeah.
In terms of what else you're up to, what are you maybe looking forward to in the space right now?
Right now, just for us internally, of course, customers, servicing the customers has always been our number one priority. We're also expanding to creating apps on the Appsource, standardize all of the work we've done for our clients that we've reused frequently and publishing that to Appsource for other clients to download. Mm-hmm. So we're really changing. For me personally, I'm changing the way how traditional nav people think about partnership. In that, before, if you're working with one nav partner, you don't want to work with that customer until they sign until they change their partner of record to you, right? But now, that kind of model doesn't really work anymore because Business Central, what price of Business Central is $70 a user per month. To get that revenue versus not, to us really doesn't matter. So right now we just want to focus on, okay, we have all these IP. How do we get that to as many people's hand as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strength of this space that there are experts out there who might not even, like you said, care about some of those older, factors that go into a partner relationship. And Appsource is really, I think it still remains to be seen how that's going to change the Business Central space. I mean, I think there's new rules coming out about what apps, sort of how IP is deployed, and making it Appsource first, right? That's one of the new guidelines. But then what does that do between partners and between partner to partner and customer to partner?
Yeah, I think what we're going to start seeing is that, you really don't need a partner to install apps on Appsource. So,
Okay.
Traditionally with nav, if you want to install like an add-on, well, the customers don't really go contact the add-on partner, add-on vendor directly. They have to go through a partner like us. So, and then we would install the add-on, we build them, so forth and so on. But with the Appsource model, I mean, there's still companies that go through partners, but I think that's just a phase. I think eventually customers are going to, because we have some. I mean, if you search on a particular feature on Appsource, you get like a lot of results now. Okay, before it was pretty bone dry, but now you get a lot more results, right? And for a customer, it's pretty confusing. So sometimes you do need a partner to come in and kind of guide you to see, okay, which add-ons are reputable and which ones are just whatever, right? But we also have a separate set of customers that are using BC Online, and they're more adventurous. They're out there, they're downloading their own trial, and they're doing their own thing. And then only after they tried it, they say, "Oh, by the way, Alex, we're gonna be using this add-on." Just FYI, I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. All right, good for you, man." But I think the latter is going to be true in the future rather than the former. I think people are more savvy to applications in general, and then they know what they want. They know what they want. They could see all the apps out there, and they're going to download a few, try it out, and pick the one that they like.
Yeah, I think those expectations will drive the product roadmap to some extent too, in terms of the ability to live that way.
Yeah.
To have a solution that kind of works in that way. Yeah.
And especially true, like, since these add-on product they address specific needs, those, they could probably do a templated implementation. Those specific function specific add-ons. I think those are, you could just download, install, and run with it. Right? Yeah, because they address a specific function in your business.
Alex, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I'd love to have you back and maybe talk about some of the other things you have on your mind in the Business Central space. I mean, there's so much happening with features changing and all these consulting and deployment issues.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. Thank you for having me.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Alex Chow for joining me today. You can find links to Alex's blog and company in the show notes. And that's it for this episode. If you want to reach out, you can contact me by email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter for the latest updates. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.